Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3. Welcome back to the big show. A suspicious powder was mailed to Donald Trump Jr. He has a place in Jupiter, Florida. You don't have to know geography, just know Jupiter, Florida. It's like 5 miles north of where his dad lives on the Florida coast over there. His dad's in Palm Beach. Jupiter's right above it. And you probably could have guessed he has a pretty sweet house. I like my house, this cute little cozy cottage. This is not a cute little cozy cottage. This is a dream house. Barbie has dreams about this house. But he's going through and he's opening his mail, and the cops had to be called because there was a white powder that fell out of one envelope. Well, he goes on to, I've already got the scary white powder. Might as well go ahead and read the letter. It's a death threat. That's all. No big deal. So the hazmat team, they came out there, they checked it out, they tested it. Turns out this is, so far, they're saying this is not anything dangerous. But we have reason to be concerned. Younger people don't remember this, but you probably do. No offense, that really sounded bad now that I've said it out loud. I would consider myself into this, but let me just refresh your memory here. We had the anthrax dude right after 9/11. There was that guy that was sending out letters with anthrax in them. It turned out he was a U.S. Army Medical Research infectious diseases doctor, and he ended up killing himself when he was caught. But his name's Bruce Ivins. He committed suicide after the FBI caught up with him. But in that one, he sent out 5 anthrax-filled letters. 5 people got sick. 17 others 5 people died. 17 got sick. And that's not that long ago. That's within the last 20 or so years. And so if you get a envelope with some powder in it, you have cause to be concerned. If not me, no one's trying to assassinate me. I'm a loser. It's only an assassination if an important person gets killed. So that's not going to apply to me or Sean over there on the board. No offense, Sean. No one's going to mail you. No one's going to waste their anthrax on you anyway. Did that make you feel loved? I didn't hear you if you're talking to me.
I said I'm fat enough. I'm hoping it's powdered sugar.
Yeah, right. Is that Ozempic?
Yes.
But it's also not the first time that these guys have received. And when I say these guys, I'd probably be more specific. I mean Donald Trump Jr. Donald Trump Jr. in 2018 had his then wife Vanessa open a letter that contained white powder. She called 911. Turned out the substance wasn't dangerous, but this isn't the first time that he himself has been targeted with the powder scare. Now, why is this such a big deal? Well, whenever you use the definition of terrorism is the use of violence or intimidation in order to further a political cause. This is kind of close to that, right? This is running right up to the edge. Intimidation, you're trying to scare people, trying to have some sort of effect on them. So this could be considered a domestic terror attack or just a terror attack, period. It depends on where the letter was mailed from. I think it was a domestic letter, but we'll get to the bottom of this, and the media will ignore it as hard as they can. But I think this story gets a little more interesting when you put it in the proper James Show context. And that's what this show is good about. I have a memory like a scorned wife, and I remember other supposed terror attacks that turned out to be hoaxes that got 1,000 times more coverage than this. And you'll notice a pattern. It's not an accident that this hasn't gotten, and it's not going to get 1/1000th the coverage of the fake Bubba Wallace noose. I know you remember that story. Did you ever see an actual picture of the noose? Because the one that they passed around at the beginning that was on Twitter, back when it was still Twitter, it was from real close. I mean, they must have had a lens that was just inches away from it, because when you looked at it from any sort of distance, you could tell that this was just a garage pull down. You could maybe hang a Barbie doll with it, but it certainly didn't fit the description of a noose. Okay, it's a teeny tiny little loop at the end of a teeny tiny little cord. But that got the coverage that this isn't going to get. And obviously, and it wasn't even like a hoax, like someone set it up. Someone just intentionally mistook a garage tie down that had been there for 8 months. And, whatever it is they think they see becomes a Tootsie Roll to me. That's how some people are with just racial offenses. Remember Jussie Smollett? That was an obvious hoax. Anyone with any critical thinking skills whatsoever, once they read that story, knew that it was a hoax. Dave Chappelle knocked it out of the park making fun of that hoax. Chris Rock has too. But how long did they keep that going? They kept it going almost 3 weeks before they admitted something was up. They gave it a good 2 weeks of coverage. In fact, more than 2 weeks after he had been attacked, he's still getting an interview on Good Morning America. Do you think Donald Trump Jr. 2 weeks from now is going to be getting a sympathetic sit down with Robin Roberts over the hell he had been through, the intimidation, the fear that he had dealt with over this domestic terrorist attack? Of course not. It sounds silly to say it. Nicholas Sandmann, the Covington Catholic high school kid who was accosted by a Native American, beating a drum in his face at the Lincoln Memorial while he's waiting on his bus to pick him up after the March for Life. This is after they had been sitting there on the receiving end of ethnic slurs from the Black Hebrew Israelites. Isn't that a fun group if you ever dig into that? It's a great Google hole. That got more coverage than this is going to get. And those were fake stories. Jussie and Nicholas Sandmann were fake stories. Bubba Wallace, the Noose, it was a fake story. It's going to get they got 1,000 times more coverage than this real story. Someone really did mellow white powder in order to scare the crap out of the son of the current presidential candidate for the Republican Party and former president, period. But you shouldn't be surprised because there's something else you remember. Those stories, Bubba Wallace, Jussie Smollett, Nicholas Sandmann, even though all three of those are hoaxes, they got 1,000 times the coverage of Steve Scalise being shot at the Republican baseball practice. They talked about that for a couple days. And then we found out it was a Bernie Sanders volunteer and hardcore Democrat, and it just fell off. It's so weird. It's almost like they're picking and choosing which stories that they're going to accent based on their political narrative. Not to say we don't do it here, but at least we admit it. At least you know what I am. At least I'm not pretending to be some impartial observer giving you objective news. Just thought I'd throw it in there. So Donald Trump, he's going to be okay. So far, it's not a dangerous substance, but don't expect it to get the coverage that it deserves because it just doesn't fit in, y'all. On The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3.